Hey everybody, it's Wednesday Night Live at Siskiyou Vitamin Medicine. I'm Dr. Duncan and this is Ron Veitel.
Hello.
And it's another episode where we come to you every Wednesday night with some awesome health tips, some interesting conversation, and a little bit of comedy, right?
I think that's what we've been told, yes. A little humor.
Always having fun. So wow, this month has just gone by so fast. We're sort of deep into the holiday season, and we have a couple of classes that are coming up quickly. We have one that I really want to talk about tonight, and that is the Life Mastery monthly series. It's going to be getting January 8th with Ron Veitel and Lindsay, let me see what her last name is. Lindsay Roby and Emily Graham. And they're going to be talking about how to master your life. So here's the flyer right here. Today is the end of the early bird, but we're thinking about extending it. So if you guys want to get in before the 30th of December, I believe 30th of December is the decision.
Cutoff date, yep.
Cutoff date, so you can get in
for early bird registration.
Early bird registration. So that's $75. After the 30th, it's going to be $100. This is a 6-week course, and
actually a 4-week. A 4-week.
Okay, a 4-week course. It's on Mondays from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. This course is going to be life-changing, and I would hope that all of you get in and sign up soon. Seats are filling up fast, so reserve your spot today.
We just did our little kind of dress rehearsal, first initial class, see how it goes between the teachers on Monday, and I have to tell you, we are all incredibly excited about this class. So if you have an interest in learning more about your physiology from a deeper perspective, not just material physiology, but a deeper perhaps more spiritual understanding of your physiology, as well as an interest in yoga, Kundalini yoga, how to take better care of your being. This is a fantastic course to sign up for right now. So there's going to be some teaching, a little bit of teaching, and then an embodied experience of the teaching through the Kundalini yoga. There'll be stress reduction, relaxation, sound healing. It's going to be meditation. This is going to be a wonderful course to begin learning how to begin to master your life.
Right.
So this is a great opportunity.
Expanding self-awareness.
Yes.
This is huge. This 2018 is going to be about the new you. Mm-hmm. This is a great way to start. It's going to be something that can serve as a foundation for you moving through the rest of your life. And it's nothing like, come in like a boot camp and just kick your butt for 4 weeks. It's really about deepening your understanding of yourself.
Yes.
So it's something that you can take away, you can share with your friends. Bring a friend, bring a family member. Sign up today and reserve your spot. It's going to be an amazing course. Let's see, what else do we have? Any other classes coming up soon?
Classes, no, but we are beginning a healing circle every other Thursday starting in January with Maria LaPuma, and I'll have more details on that at the next Wednesday Night Live, but that's going to be an excellent opportunity to learn how to move through any kind of past trauma or wounds, how to reduce the stress. Maria LaPuma is an amazing energy professional healer, and what she has to offer, let me just say this. I call Maria LaPuma a ninja. She's kind of like a Jedi.
Yeah, special powers.
Yes. I've had sessions with her, and I can tell you from my own direct experience, the woman is a gifted healer and a wonderful person to sit in circle with and learn stress management and stress reduction techniques and help heal yourself. So keep your eyes out for that.
Yeah, and if you need more information about the things that are going on here at Siskiyou Vitamin Medicine, you can log in at www.siskiyouvitamedicine.com, or you can come to our Facebook page and check us out. We have a lot of things going on all the time. Dr. Jennifer Wyman, who's a chiropractor, she's here at the office. So if you're looking for musculoskeletal rehabilitation, she's really into sports medicine. So if you know anybody that's trying to improve their athletic abilities, definitely check out Dr. Wyman. Also, we have Pat Dykes, who's a reflexologist, has been a reflexologist for decades, 35 years. Her hands are like magic, and lying on her table, she has a special mat called the Biomat. It's filled with amethyst crystals, and far infrared heat comes through that. So, it's getting very cold and it's very dark. So if you just want to come and just take a break for a second, taking a break on Pat's Table is amazing. It's an amazing way to just relax and decompress from this stressful holiday season. So think about us going into the new year. We're going to have a shower sauna room that's going to be up and operational in January. So if you want to come and sweat and then take a shower afterwards, that'd be great. But what else do you have on your mind?
There's one other practitioner, and that's Summer Waters has joined our clinic as well. Summer is a fantastic acupuncturist and nutritionist. She's the head of the local Weston A. Price Foundation chapter here. So we are super stoked to have her here at the clinic as well. So we're growing. We have more and more practitioners coming in with incredible gifts. So definitely come and check out what we have going on.
We got a lot going on, and it's all about you. What do we got going on tonight, Ron?
Well, you had said it's getting cold and dark, and I, the segue for me there was, speaking of cold and darkness, as it's getting dark so early. What this time of year, one of my favorite things is bone broth.
Bone broth.
Bone broth is. Could not resist.
No.
Could not resist that.
It's about the broth.
It's all about bone broth right now. Today, it's all about bone broth. And so that's going to be our topic for the day.
You know what I like about bone broth? And we could get into all the health benefits of bone broth, but bone broth is super simple, right?
Yes.
It's warming, and like we said, it's dark and it's cold. So you need something that's warming, and you can sit with a little bowl or a mug, and you can sort of cuddle around that, share that with somebody. I love that. I love that about this time of year where you have something warm, and it sort of warms your soul, right? And bone broth sort of goes right to that spot that craves salty and fatty and warming. So for me, it's a super nice way to sort of come in from the cold. I call it mountain food. It's like, you guys ever been to Europe or gone skiing for the day, or been out in the snow enjoying yourself? You just need something that just warms you right up to the core.
Yeah.
Right.
And it does that. When I drink bone broth, I feel the heat coming. I feel it. It's like, it's so good.
It is. It's soul. It like gets into the bone. Right. It like warms you to the bone. Bone broth is good.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, John. John just joined us. Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah. So what are some of the health benefits that we derive from bone broth?
Well, bone broth, there's some ancient wisdom in bone broth, because this has been around a long time. Bone broth, you would think bone broth is just hitting our consciousness now because it's just getting popular. But the reality is that, excuse me, just dropped my water bottle. The reality is that bone broth has been used for thousands of years by a variety of cultures. And, the most famous example of bone broth is really the chicken soup stories, right? Like chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, you get sick. What does grandma make for you? Chicken noodle soup.
And does that benefit the immune system? Somehow we all feel better when we drink chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, why does everybody recommend chicken noodle soup when you get sick?
It's interesting. Well,
isn't it?
If we want to talk about some of the benefits of bone broth, is that one of the things it does is it helps support immune function.
Right.
And it prevents the migration of immune cells. So that's a good thing.
So it actually helps you feel better.
It actually helps you feel better.
Biochemically, physically, anatomically, all that, right?
The whole shebang.
It's not just because it tastes good.
Right.
But I'm sure that has something to do with it as well, right?
I think so, because when something is flavorful and it nourishes our senses, and we're built up by our senses, so nourishing our senses is really important. And so if something tastes good and feels good, that sends us a positive signal in our being, and the immune system will respond to that. Our whole being will respond to that, so we'll feel better from it.
Jean commented, it's all the antibiotics in the chicken, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's called drip biotics.
Drip biotics, yeah,
Yes.
secondary.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said about the smell of when it's cooking too, right? So we talk about digestion and how there are several phases to digestion, and one of them is the brain's sensing something cooking. So there's a lot to be said about that, and relaxing the vagus nerve, and so the immune system responds to several different things going on at the same time. One of the great things about bone broth and the immune system is that it sort of starts healing the gut.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if you guys have been tuning in every Wednesday, you know that we're all about the gut, and we're all about, we talked about digestive bitters and how it affects the gut and how it affects the immune system. Well, bone broth is sort of the same thing, where it starts affecting the gut, and the immune system resides in the gut. It's constantly monitoring what's coming in to your body from the outside world. And so it has that effect on the immune system through the intestines, right?
Absolutely. And one of the other benefits with the gut is that it can help heal the lining of the gut, because bone broth happens to be rich in an amino acid called glutamine. And glutamine is necessary to maintain a healthy intestinal lining. And people who have leaky gut or intestinal permeability issues, glutamine is a key amino acid to begin healing that lining, and bone broth is rich in that amino acid. So a cup or 2 or 3 of bone broth a day can be very healing to the gut lining.
I think there have been books written on bone broth and the healing qualities, right? And there's even, you can look at...
there's the bone broth diet even.
The bone broth diet. Or you can look at the gut and psychology syndrome diet and look at all of the healing qualities that bone broth comes along with, that it has. But healing the gut is probably one of the primary, I would say, one of the best functions of bone broth is that it has that effect on the gut.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Amazing. I do a lot of sports medicine in my practice, a lot of injection therapy using prolotherapy or platelet-rich plasma. And people always ask, what is it that I can do at home to help this process? And one of the things that I recommend is actually bone broth. And the reason that I recommend bone broth is that it supports collagen repair, right? So we look at the components of bone broth. Not only does it have the glutamic, the glutamine, but it also contains collagen, and it contains amino acids, and it contains minerals. And so when I'm looking to complement the therapies that I utilize, bone broth is one of those things that's easy to recommend.
It seems like bone broth is really fantastic for bone and joint health. So if people have joint issues, and I would imagine with the prolotherapy, a lot of times you're probably addressing some joint issues there, from like those that might be weekend warriors, or people who just have some bad
or
joints.
history of being. I have people who come in and say I used to be a dancer, or I'm a downhill skier, or I do a lot of hiking, and my joints just aren't holding up, or they've taken so much abuse over time, and so. And there's a couple of things going on there. One is, the joints are probably deteriorating, but a lot of us just have horrible diets and horrible guts. And if you have a horrible gut, a leaky gut, or bowel, or permeable bowel, then you probably have an immune response, which is leading to inflammation in the body.
Right. And that's going to start attacking the joints at some point, possibly. So bone broth, not only is it rich in different amino acids, but it's also really rich in something called glycosaminoglycans. We call them GAGs, and these are things like chondroitin sulfate and glucosamine, and these, which glucosamine is more in shellfish, it's not really in bone broth, but these are nutrients that go in and actually can help build up the cushioning agents of the joints, like the synovial fluid. It's also in that category would be things like hyaluronic acid, and that's really essential for the skin as well as the joints. It's particularly the synovial fluid, that cushioning agent in the joints. So when you're drinking bone broth, you're getting these glycosaminoglycans that are going to nourish the joints and help with any kind of maybe stiffness or popping and cracking that you might have in the joints.
Reducing inflammation and supplying the base components for building new materials, right? So if your joints are deteriorating because there's a loss of cartilage, or you have a torn ligament or a tendon or some chronic inflammation in that tissue, it's good to have something like bone broth first to heal the gut, but also to supply those base building materials that your body uses to make new tissues with, right? It's important to have those. It's also good to have bone broth because, it contains a lot of minerals, but it contains fats, and it has, the GAGs, and that's really helpful for adrenal glands. So, and adrenal glands have a lot to do with controlling inflammation in the body, and if you have joint issues, you might want to take a look at adrenal fatigue, and you want to look at bowel permeability or leaky gut. And so bone broth is a quick way to sort of address a lot of things at one time. Yeah. And you said skin, which is great, right?
Yep.
Joints, skin, immune system. What else do we have on that list?
Well, joint, skin, liver function, liver detoxification, kidney health. I mean, the list kind of goes on with...
It's sort of an amazing...
It is. Well, think about if you're making bone broth, one of the things that you're going to get is the bone marrow. And bone marrow is incredibly nutritious. I mean, when I was back in college, my college days, I took the most fascinating class I ever took was nutritional anthropology, where we got to trace the evolution of the human diet, which was my first real eye-opener. Cool. Yeah. That made me go paleo before there was paleo. And so, our ancestors, before we were really able to hunt, we were scavengers. And there's a lot of evidence that we would crack open old bones to get the marrow out because the marrow is so nutritious. And so if you're making your own bone broth, you really want to get beef bones with marrow, or if you're using a chicken carcass, the marrow is in there. But that marrow is so nutritious that it nourishes the body in a really deep way.
It's so good. I like to take the marrow out sometimes and salt it. So when it's cooked, if you can take the bone and actually cut it into little pieces, and you put that in the oven, put a little salt on that. The marrow is just so tasty.
Oh, yes.
It's like purified bone broth.
You can take the marrow and spread it on bread, and it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Bob's joined us. How's it going, Bob?
Hey, Bob.
All right. So,
excellent.
You mentioned that you want to get a good source of bones, and that is grass-fed beef bones.
Yep.
And grass-fed because the grass-fed beef contains a lot of omega-3s. So we're looking for omega-3s in our diet, which are anti-inflammatory fats, versus the omega-6s. Omega-6s are very important in our diet, but there's sort of a preponderance for omega-6s, and so we're getting too many omega-6s, and that leads us down an inflammatory pathway.
Right.
So that means more joint pain, more inflammation in the body, and that's something that we want to balance out and avoid the sort of imbalance of omega-6s to omega-3s. So find grass-fed beef and get grass-fed beef bones. Now, grass-fed beef has a little bit different flavor than corn-fed or soy-fed or sorghum-fed beef. It's a little bit more, I would say, gamey, or
it's a little more lean.
It tastes a little bit more like cow, and it's not so inflammatory for you. So try and stick with grass-fed. We have a couple of companies here in the valley that have grass-fed beef, and you can find those. Natural Grocers, I think, has a good selection. The Medford Food Co-op, the Ashland Food Co-op, and sometimes you'll find some at Shopping Cart in Ashland.
And find your local farmers too.
Absolutely. Support the local guys.
Shake the hand that feeds you is what I like to
Please.
say. So find the local farmers. And here's an important thing, is that if you make your own bone broth, which I would highly recommend because it's really the most cost-effective and best way to do it, you want, whatever recipe you use, you want to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar to it. Because what you have an opportunity with when you're making bone broth is to get a lot of minerals out of those bones. But the way that you're going to do that is through apple cider vinegar. It's the vinegar that can actually pull the minerals out of the bones into the bone broth, and that's going to be a way that you can actually maximize the nutritional value of the bone broth that you're making. So my favorite recipe, and it's super simple, is I take about 1.5 pounds of grass-fed beef bones. I like beef bone broth.
Okay.
That's my personal favorite. I like chicken too, but I'm more of a beef bone broth person. So I take 1.5 pounds of grass-fed beef bones with the marrow, and I add a gallon of water to that, and then I put 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with 2 teaspoons of real salt in there, and then I take an entire bulb of garlic and I crush it because I want to activate the allicin in the garlic by crushing it, and then I add that, and I let it, and it's all in a crock pot. And I let that cook for 24 hours, add a little more water, then I might let it go another 24 hours. So I like to really cook mine. 24 hours is adequate. 48 hours just takes it to the next level.
You know, adding water to the bone broth, it's important to have a clean water source. So if your municipal water source is high in chlorine, you can actually cook that down and concentrate the chlorine. So, you know, use a clean water source. If you can get, you know, like Mount Shasta water or a filtered water that has no chlorine in it, it's going to be the best, and it's actually going to taste better for you. It's going to be better for you. It's going to taste better. So use a clean water source. And you know, my bone broth recipe is sort of similar to yours, and I like to put in lots of garlic. And if you're coming off a fast, or if you're looking to heal your gut and you're sensitive to some things, you know, you can just be as simple as bones, salt, and water, right? And a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You can avoid putting in the garlic and the onions and the celery and things like that. But my favorite way to break a fast is actually with bone broth. It's super good. It's super healing for the gut. So bone broth has been a real hot topic probably in the last 12 to 6 months, right? And so you're seeing a lot of brands out there. Are there some brands that you want to recommend?
Yeah, so
off the shelf sort of stuff.
Right. So if you don't want to make your own, and like I said, it's most cost effective to make your own. It costs me like about $8 to make a gallon, or you can buy some, you know, like $9 for 24 ounces. It's just that's your call.
Yeah.
But it's important that you get a good brand. Now, I've talked with people and they said, hey, you know, there's this brand, and it's on the shelf, and it's in a box, and it's shelf stable. What about that? And I say, no, do not use the bone broths that are in shelf stable containers that aren't refrigerated. That's not the kind of bone broth you want to get. If you're going to buy bone broth, you either want to buy it where it's frozen or in the refrigerated section. And I have 3 brands that I tend to recommend to people. They're the ones that I have found to be the cleanest. They're organic, and that would be Kettle and Fire is a great one. Epic is another one, and then the last one is Bonafide. Those are the 3. So Bonafide you'll find in bags in a freezer section. The Epic and the Kettle and Fire are in, the Epic is in glass jars. You'll usually find that in a refrigerated section, and then Kettle and Fire does come in a jar as well. Now there is another thing that people could do as it comes to mind is there's another brand called Ancient Nutrition, and what they've done is they've created a bone broth protein powder where they've actually taken the broth and they've dehydrated it and turned it into a powder. And so you can add that to smoothies, or you can add hot water to that and just drink it. So that's adequate also, and that might be like something to take on the go. Like if you're traveling, you can have the powder.
I was thinking like a backpacking trip.
Backpacking trip would be
I think
a
that's
great
great.
example
Camping,
of that.
backpacking, you know, traveling across the country. A lot of people that are following specific diets or want to eat healthily, they complain that, you know, traveling through airports or going through the middle section of the country, it's really hard to find good, clean food. So this is a great way to actually take something with you. And, you know, air travel, you have to take something in powder. You can't bring liquids through. So what a great solution.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's one last thing I want to mention when it comes to bone broth, and that is if the idea of drinking a cup of bone broth is not appetizing to you, then bone broth is a fantastic base for soups. And here we are, we're in the winter, and it's cold, and what better time to make soup than right now? So make some bone broth and have that as the base of your soup, and you will have a incredibly nourishing soup.
Awesome. That sounds delicious.
It does, doesn't it? It makes me want to go.
That's perfect.
Make some.
That's perfect. So you guys come and check us out. We have a couple of classes going. The Life Mastery monthly series. Maria La Puma is here doing some amazing things. But you know, keep up to date with us. We have lots of things going on all the time, and we are so happy to have all of you, and we're thankful for our members. And going into this holiday season, you guys be safe, have lots of fun, drink lots of bone broth.
Hydrate, stay hydrated.
Take your digestive bitters. So a couple of things: digestive bitters, bone broth. Right? You can't really go wrong.
That's right. Don't go to Christmas parties hungry.
That's right.
Right.
What else have we talked about this season?
Man, we talked about a lot.
Oh my gosh, we have. Yes.
So, but it's just a great time of year. Settle in, enjoy the weather, enjoy the holidays, enjoy your family, your friends, and stay healthy, stay well. And if you like the information you get here from us, please share this with your friends. That way you can help your friends get solid, good information. Help us help them in a way that works for all of us. So we love doing this. We have a lot of fun doing this.
Yes.
And so...
All right, guys. We love you guys.
Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.